We are live again from Norway. This is the Beloved Miracles Couples Project. And in this case, it's Beloved Miracles couple Erica and Alex Udeanu. You might have to say it and clear me up on that, Erica.
You did great.
Of the totally inspired living tribe and multiple six-figure earners. So Erica, where does your story begin?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you so much for inviting myself and my husband, Alex, who is kind of like the background of what we do here, hence why he's not live on the camera with me right now. But I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you and your viewers what it is that we as couples in this industry are doing, and to allow us to share our story with your viewers. So thank you very much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. So long story short, you know, I say this all the time. I think that no one really sets out to begin an adventure online. You know, we all start with, you know, a normal education, we have normal jobs, and, you know, we have normal careers. And then something happens and there is a pivotal turning point where somehow your entire life gets flipped upside down on its head, and you are kind of looking around for like, oh my God, how did I get here? And how do I get out of this mess and, you know, fix things? And that's kind of like how, you know, my story with, you know, Alex and I started online. Alex and I used to be art auctioneers on cruise ships. We had this amazing life. We had an amazing career. And literally for, you know, many, many years, we just sailed all around the world selling paintings on cruise ships. And it was a beautiful life. Like, it was charmed. It was absolutely charmed. And we met on cruise ships, and we met in 2007. And we had a whirlwind romance. You know, we were in Europe at the time. And you can imagine being on ships, we really weren't paying attention to the news at all. And we got married 5 days before Lehman Brothers collapsed. We went on our honeymoon to Paris, and 3 weeks later, we went back to cruise ships to, you know, resume our career. And there was this weird energy going on. And we're like, what just happened, right? All of a sudden, our auction rooms that used to be buzzing and so full were like empty. We discovered pretty quickly that people were desperately trying to work out just how to pay their mortgages or pay their rent, let alone trying to work out how to decorate their homes. And we went from having this charmed life to having this extremely stressful life, because we were commission only on the ships. And we went from just knowing exactly where we were headed as a couple, exactly where our futures lay. We had all our dreams mapped out. Everything was just, you know, perfectly laid out in front of us. And then all of a sudden we were like scrambling. We were just scrambling. And it was terrifying, you know, for many people at that time. And we tried for 3 years to hold it all together. You know, we tried for 3 years to salvage our careers. We tried to turn things around. We hoped that the economy would change. We hoped that something would change, right? And then in the third quarter of 2011, this is our turning point, and everyone has one, right? We opened up this commission check, and it was for $9.38. And I got out the calculator, and we'd been working for 50 hours that week, the two of us. And I divided that check between the two of us, and I calculated that we'd been working for 17 cents an hour. And that was my breaking point. And everyone has one, you know, and I'm like, I'm worth so much more than 17 cents an hour. Like, this is just ludicrous. And I'll never forget the moment. I literally put out my hand, and I put it on top of my husband's hand. I looked him in the eyes, and I said, honey, if we worked as hard on our own business, any business, as we do this job, we would have to be successful. And at that time, you know, about 6 months prior to that, we had been really, really looking online for anything that would get us out of this situation. You know, we were looking at franchises, we were looking at restaurants, we were looking at coffee shops, we were looking at lawnmower businesses, right? Anything that would get us off cruise ships back on the land and bringing in an income. And we had stumbled across this little MLM thing. And I think that's how most people get into this industry, through network marketing. Because I don't think anyone wakes up one day and goes, you know what, I'm going to be an online, you know, I'm going to work a system online. I'm going to do something on the internet. Like, for me, I didn't even know how to operate the internet, right? I have some horror stories about how clueless I was. I might share one with you if it comes out. But just totally clueless. I didn't even have a Facebook account. My husband did. And I thought, what are you doing on that thing? Like, why are you posting pictures of yourself on the internet? That's kind of like weird. What are you doing, right? So that's how, you know, far away from the internet I was. And we'd stumbled into this MLM thing, and we were told, you're going to make $5,000 a month doing absolutely nothing. And we're like, in. Okay. So we opened up that check, right? And I'm like, hey, let's go home and do that MLM thing. It took us 3 weeks to work out that nobody makes $5,000 a month doing nothing. And we're like, oh, this is awesome. We just quit our jobs. This MLM thing is not working. Now we went online seriously. And we're like, okay, we've got this MLM thing. How do we get people into this thing, right? So we went online looking for ways to get leads for our offline thing. And that's how our journey onto the internet began, because one link led us to another link, which led us to another link, to another link, which ended us up where we are now, doing the system that we're doing. And I always say this, that there are no accidents in this world. There are no accidents in this life. There are no coincidences. Everything happens at the right time for the right reason. And you are always in the right place at the right time for the right reason. You may not know what that reason is at that point in time, but hindsight being 2020, it all makes sense, right? So we opened up that check in 2011 in about the third quarter. And then at the very same time, we found the system that was just starting at the very same time, right? Coincidence? Absolutely not. Like, why did we hang in for 3 years? Why not 2? Well, if we hung in for 2, then we wouldn't have found the system. Do you know what I mean? And so that's how we ended up, you know, doing what we're doing, just through a series of what seemed like unrelated events, leading us up to where we are now. And so we plugged in, and we, you know, tried to work out how to make it work. And then we basically just flowed with how things were being taught to us. So that's our long story, kind of short.
Brilliant. Yeah. So now things are starting to happen. You're working online, you're implementing a system. What then began to change for you guys?
Well, I want to say up front that it wasn't easy. Like, in the beginning, it wasn't easy. You know, we started online 5 years ago, and back then we didn't have access to a lot of the tools and a lot of the mentoring and a lot of the coaching that we as a community have now. So back then, it was a big struggle. It was a really, really big struggle. We had to try and work out how to put all the pieces together by ourselves. You know, we had to struggle, like really, really struggle, right? But I think one of the biggest turning points for us was making a commitment to get to our very first event and connecting with people who knew what we needed to know, and making those connections and learning from them, and then bringing that knowledge back home to a point where we started actually seeing some results. So it took us about 10 months to get traction. But it was that first event and the knowledge we brought back and the connections that we made that enabled us to tweak some things in what we were doing, to get us to the point where we actually had our first 5-figure month in our first 10 months of being online. So it took us 10 months to get to our first 5-figure month. So what changed for us was connecting with the right people, you know, like what you're doing here. Connecting with the right people, you know, finding out what other people know, making sure that you're really open to the messages that your mentors are sharing with you. You know, that's one of the biggest things that we learned really early on in the beginning, is that you have to find mentors. You have to find people who are prepared to show you the way, to show you the path, to show you the ropes, and to shorten your learning curve, basically.
So that's a key part of the system, isn't it? The mentorship, the events to meet people that otherwise, like you and I, would most likely never have met each other. And then how that ripples out further and further in the connections, right? I mean, really, in a single word, it's the connections we make implementing a system, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is the big thing. You know, a lot of people think that they can build an online business by themselves. And I, in my infinite wisdom, thought that we could do it by ourselves, right? I really did. I thought, well, you know, here's the system. We can do it by ourselves, and, you know, we'll just, you know, make it work, right? But you can't. It takes a community. It takes a village. It takes a whole group of like-minded people getting together, lifting everyone up and sharing everything that they have. Because here, what the main goal is to lift the masses, to lift an entire community, not just for a couple of people to you know, bounce up and, you know, have great success, but to lift everyone up, you know. And you get that sense of community when you get around people who are all heading in the same direction. You know, like, you know, a lot of the people that you're interviewing here on your show, one of the things that rings true with so many of them is that they are so servant driven. They definitely want to help everyone raise up, which is really, really important. So yeah, really, really important to plug into community and to understand that you do not build this business on your own.
Can you say a little bit more about that? Because that's really rich. In all of my years of wading through the sea of competitive internet marketing, those words were nothing I ever heard, right? I mean, there were winners, there were losers, and, you know, basically you're trying to learn from the winners, which essentially means copying them, which never worked for me. I mean, flat out never worked for me, and it was incredibly frustrating. So I think there's some nugget in what you just said. I wrote down lifting everyone up, a servant-driven attitude. Where did that show up for you guys?
Well, see, here's the funny thing, and I think one of the reasons why Alex and I were so successful so quickly, like, so to speak, is because we'd never done anything before, right? So we'd never been in any other system. We'd never done internet marketing before. We'd never, we had no baggage, you know? So when we came into this community, which was led by a man whose heart is just bigger than the planet, his leadership, his guidance, his love trickled down. And it was from his example that we embodied that servant-driven leadership style. So, you know, we have an expression here in Romania. Well, I'm not Romanian, of course, but my husband is Romanian, and they have an expression here, and it's something to the effect, it goes something like this. If the fish stinks, it stinks from the head first. So the translation is like, if a whole organization stinks, it's because whoever's at the top stinks first, right? And so the flip side of that is that here everything is just so beautiful, but it comes from the top, right? And it comes from someone who has a vision to free the masses, you know, and to really encourage people to dream again, right? But again, you can't do that on your own. You can't raise the masses on your own. It takes an army of people like yourself, again, doing these interviews and reaching out to other servant-driven leaders to share their stories, you know, and to share with absolute carefree abandon. And I think one of the beautiful things that I've noticed here that I've heard that doesn't happen in other organizations is that people here share, and they share willingly, and they share without expecting anything in return. They share so that the community wins, right? Because when the community wins, everybody wins. And I think this is what is so different here, as I've heard from other like experiences like you may have had in the past, where that just doesn't happen. People don't share willingly, but we didn't learn any other way. We've only learned from one person.
That is refreshing, and I think that speaks highly of where we're at now, maybe in the evolution of internet marketing and online business and so on, and with people such as yourself and Alex bringing such a clear spirit and adding to it, as you said, from a few key people who've kept a seed like this alive, because it's been rather poisonous waters to swim in for a long time in my experience. And when I first came across this, Erica, I realized how precious it was. And it doesn't mean it was perfect. It just means that I knew there was something different about this system as compared to all the other systems I had been implementing and spent a lot of money and time and frustration, you know, basically trying to copy others. And I think the question I'm leading toward is, there's something here of an ability to really freely express who each of us is, isn't there?
Yeah, and that's a key point. And I say this a lot, you know, when I'm talking to people. It's like a lot of people think, well, how can I make this system work? What makes this different, you know, to everything else? And I always tell people, you know what, you have an audience out there waiting for you to show up on the platform that you have here, right? And from my experience, look, there are 6-7 billion people on this planet. You only need to reach a couple of hundred people to achieve a freedom lifestyle. Right? So when you really, really, really break that down into what that means is like, so I can be me on the internet using this platform, and I only need to reach my audience who's already waiting for me. How How fascinating, right? And so what we do here is we teach people to tap into their unique talents and their unique gifts and their unique voice, and to simply share what they were put on this planet to do. See, everyone has a purpose. Everyone was put on this planet to do something very, very special. And within every single human being, there's a unique talent, a unique gift that will find its expression on the internet and will affect the audience that it was meant to affect, right? Some of us, sure, we're here to affect millions of people, but some of us, we only need to affect the lives of a couple of hundred people to make a difference, to make a lasting difference, and to leave a legacy. You know, and I always say to people, you know, you only need to touch one person a day for your life to have meaning. One person. And that one person goes out and touches one person. And that one person goes out and touches one person. And then after a while, you've created this amazing ripple in the community, and boom, everyone lifts up. Well, that's my theory anyway.
Oh, it's more than a theory, and you know that is literally how we live day by day, implementing this system. Is you described it eloquently, and that's exactly it. That the joy, the adventure, the opportunity every day to realize in some way, right? Every day in some way, I get feedback that the signal I'm broadcasting out is being received by someone, and it's making a difference for them. And I hear the same in you.
You're beautiful. I love listening to you. I could listen to you all day.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's quite interesting, really. And the more we look at this, and we won't go into depth of it now, it's just, I think what we're referencing is the fact that today, 2017, online, every one of us, because of the drive of social media, we are more a media company today than has ever existed with the use of technology and systems like this before.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the question is, what are we broadcasting? And I think the fascinating thing I'm noticing is if I think I can like just opt out and not broadcast anything, someone else will broadcast me for me. And usually that's not the best.
You know what, and this is a key point. Consistency is key, right? Consistency is key. And I've heard this one expression that I just think is so perfect for this industry. And it's that he or she who's the most consistent for the longest period of time will always win, right? So consistency means showing up in one way, shape, or form every single day. And, you know, it doesn't mean that you need to create, you know, a video every day or a blog every day or something on Instagram every day or a post on Facebook every day, but you got to do something, just something, right? Every single day, so that the universe knows that you're still plugged in, you're connected to your purpose, you're connected to your passion, and you're connected to the mission of making a difference. And I think that's what's so special about this community, is that they are committed to making a difference. And I think a lot of other systems, so I've heard, are more focused on a message that is not as soulful, that doesn't come from a place of meaning, you know. And Tim, can I recommend a book for your viewers?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is my Bible, The Millionaire Messenger, right, by Brendon Burchard. And I strongly recommend that if anybody is thinking about getting into this system, that they read this book 3 times. Once, super fast, right? Just to skim it and just to kind of get an idea of where this guy's going. Second time, a little slower. By the end of the second reading, alarm bells will be going off. And your viewers will be like, oh, I get where she's going with this, right? And then on the third reading, to read it so super slow and to pull out every single sentence, sentence by sentence by sentence. It could take you 3 months to read it the third time, right? Because within this book are a series of questions that will elicit the answers to your online success. Because within every single human being, there is something that human being has overcome. There is something that human being has discovered. There is something that human being has learned. There is something that human being is passionate about, is an expert at, and it is something that person can then take those answers and create a business online with the system. For me, this is the Bible. It's the absolute Bible. Everyone needs to have this book, The Millionaire Messenger. And I promise you, I see a lot of people when they get into, you know, like a system like this, they go, well, who would listen to me? Well, your answer will be answered in this book. And they go, well, what can I talk about? The answers are in this book. Well, what can I create? The answers are in the book, right? And the truth of the matter is the answers are already within you, but you don't know the right questions to get the answers out, You know what I mean? And I think if everyone who gets involved in the system has this book beside them, bam, game over. That's it. Excellent. The answers are all right there. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, and those answers to our own questions are literally the writing of the next chapter of our story, right? We all have a story to share. And again, the social media driven world we're living in today, and us being a media company, it's as simple as documenting, isn't it? I mean, it's just basically documenting a journey. It's our journey through whatever it is we're going through. And then as we're doing here, sharing what inspires, sharing what uplifts others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a great point, uplifting others. There are so many people on this planet who do not read, right? So if you choose to read inspirational content and share that content in your own words, you become the inspiration that makes someone else's day, right? And then that is a great way to build your audience, because I'm telling you, there are, who was it? I think Jim Rohn said 90% of the population do not read, right? So if you fall into the 10% that do, and then you share what you're reading with your audience, you become, I always say, you become the guru in their eyes, right? Because if people aren't reading, they don't know where you're getting this information from, right? But when you kind of regurgitate it with your own twist, with your own flip on it, it becomes yours, So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, to wrap it up, what other advice? You've already given some. Is there any other advice that you would give to couples building something together?
Okay, so couples. This is such an interesting topic, right? Couples must play to their strengths. They must play to their strengths. In our situation, which is, one of the reasons why, I'm talking to you and Alex is not, is because Alex, quite frankly, he's just not comfortable in front of the camera. But behind the camera, he's a genius and he's in his comfort zone, right? We've tried to do a couple of interviews, together, and you could see that it's just completely uncomfortable for him. So why put him in a situation that makes him uncomfortable, right? His strength is behind the scenes. His strength is in the technical training. His strength is in the technical wizardry side of what we do, right? That's not my ballpark at all. Like, I've tried to do that stuff. It's just a nightmare, right? And one of the key concepts you learn in this industry is if you don't know how to do something, outsource it. So I outsource to my husband. Because sometimes, people, they're not technical, right? So why bang your head against a brick wall when you're not good at doing something, unless you choose to become proficient at it, when you can outsource, right? So for me, my strengths are everything that's in front of the camera. My strengths are videos. My strengths are content creation. My strengths are, Facebook. My strengths are anything that has to do with social media, the media company, which is, like pretty much what we are. That's where I play, right? So as a couple, you have to work out what each other's strengths are and respect your differences. I think one of the biggest problems a lot of couples have, working together, is that they can't clearly define what each other's roles are, and sometimes they get niggly and they're like, well, you should have done that and you should have done that. And that doesn't work at all, right? So imagine that you're at a job, like a real job, right? You have your job description, your coworkers have their job description. You would never go to your coworker and go, why didn't you do so-and-so, right? That's the boss's job, right? To go, oi, so-and-so, pull up your socks. But it's not for a coworker's, it's not a coworker's responsibility to do that, right? So you respect each other's strengths, you play to your strengths, and you allow what will be to be, right? And I think one of the most important things when you're working as a couple is to respect each other's time, respect the way each other handles their parts of the business, and to find a smooth flowing schedule that works for both of you. And that's another key point. You must make family time. You must make, like, we have this kind of rule, like, well, I've broken it tonight, but we have a rule that 5 o'clock, that's it. That's it. Facebook down, phones turned upside down, ringers off. It's family time, right? Because one of the biggest mistakes Alex and I made in the beginning is that I was grinding. Like, I was a woman on a mission, and it would be nothing for me to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't see him again until maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night, because we didn't have our roles clearly defined at that point, and we were both doing everything, right? And I was so focused on the business that I lost focus on my health, that went down the drain. I lost focus on my relationship that was strained. I lost focus on relationships with my friends, with my family. Like I was completely 100% focused and tunnel vision on what I was doing. And that's a big mistake. And I share this with people a lot. You know, you need to respect all aspects of your life when you're building your business. And 5 years in, I've got it to the point where I come first now and the business comes second. So, you know, I have a set of morning rituals between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Nothing gets in the way of my morning rituals, right? Work is from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock. We're very lucky with the system that the owners of the company create all of the content for us. So like we have to work a lot less now than we, you know, did back in the old days. So I do, you know, content creation. Well, I do my work between 7 and 9. And then between 9 and 10:30, it is back on me, fitness, health, stuff like that. Then it's family time. And then in the afternoon, you know, I do my work again. But at 5 o'clock, it's family time, you know, and I never, ever, ever put anything before. So the business always came first. And so my biggest advice to couples out there is that you prioritize and you make sure that you look after your health, you make sure you look after your spirituality, you make sure you look after your relationships, and business really kind of comes a bit of a fourth. It really must, because otherwise all the other things, they suffer. Whereas if you've got a strong relationship, you've got strong spirituality, you've got strong health, right? And you're looking after everything, you can be amazing in your business, right? But you can't be amazing in your business if you've broken those things down, you know? So put you first. That would be one of my biggest pieces of advice. Put you first, and then the business will flow, right? Otherwise, you get stuff out of balance and stuff doesn't flow.
Yeah, the words come to mind, go within, that I don't go without. Yeah, there's something of tending to these things within ourselves, the balance, the harmony of it, even the self-respect, the self-awareness, that then our story as a media company broadcast out has a chance to encourage others, right? To consider those same questions for themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely. And again, one thing I want to pick up on is the fact that, you know, back in the day, we were grinding, like, you know, 10, 12, 16 hours a day was not unreasonable, right? Sometimes we'd forget to eat, right? We'd look at the clock, it's like 9 o'clock. Did we have dinner? No. Did we have lunch? Oh my goodness, when did we eat? You know what I mean? But now, like with what we've got in place with the system now, you can work like less than an hour a day and get everything done. Like, I'm so jealous of people who get in now, right? Because it's so simple. Anyway, it's all good. It all makes for a good story.
It is, right? And that's what it comes down to, is a good story. And we might be the lucky ones, because the story we have to share to inspire these just getting started now is, yeah, how lucky they really are. Yeah. Well, with that, I'll wrap it up here from Norway to where you are in Bucharest, yes? In the proper city area, yeah, Romania, yeah. Bucharest?
Yep, right in the heart of the city.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for making time, first of 2017, to share the inspiration that your and Alex's story is. I have no doubt it will reach many couples and individuals as well, to recognize and realize that within ourselves is a strength of self-awareness, and added to that an opportunity to self-develop, right? To develop these skills, develop these tools to better take care of ourselves and inspire those around us to likewise consider how they, from within to without, can shine the brilliance that they are, like you and Alex do.
Thank you. Thank you. And you just hit on a really big key point, personal development. I say that we are a personal development company disguised as a business opportunity.
Well said. Well said. And then and the words I wish to close with actually add to what you just said. So thank you for that. This idea that together we truly all have an opportunity to overcome. Thank you, Erica.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I really appreciate this opportunity to be with you and to impart, you know, hopefully some inspiration to viewers. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
No doubt it has been done. Bye-bye from Norway.
Bye from Bucharest.